Hey guys, MD Prepper here, continuing my series on low-cost SHTF and preparedness blades. We're talking about the J Marttiini line out of Finland. The sheaths, we'll get those out of the way for now. These are very similar to the Mora line of knives, but made in Finland, and a little bit better fit and finish overall, and of course, as a result, a little bit more expensive. Nice blades generally run you about $18 to $20 a piece, whichever style you want to get. I'd say the fit and finish on these is notably better than the Moras. They don't come in quite the options and styling. Again, not quite as well known, but these function very well. I would definitely consider these an upgrade over your standard Mora. Slightly, if you want to pay the price. Let's start with the blades. They're all Scandi grind, just like the Mora line. So these are primarily used for wood crafting and bushcraft, smaller, finer tasks, notching for traps and stuff like that, whatever you want to do with wood. These are going to be stellar. Again, most of these are in stainless steel for the most part that I've seen offered here in the States, though you can spend a few bucks more and get these in carbon steel. Definitely the stainless steel is the predominant version of these, so nothing wrong with stainless. The Scandi grind makes it almost idiot-proof to sharpen up, just like the Mora line. You just lay it flat on the bevel and sharpen with your stone or whatever you've got. So, very nice there. Don't have the exact grade on these steels, but overall these blades are a little bit longer than your Moras. Here's a Mora clipper for comparison, very popular one. Let's compare it to the other standard style blade. As you can see, these blades are very similar overall in their styling, but just a little bit longer if you see it there on the J Marttiini, about 4 inches or so on the blade. Now one advantage, there's maybe a slight advantage for this price point in use of this knife, but it is full tang. Don't know if it's a rat tang or a true full tang. I suspect it's a rat tang, but my magnet will touch and feel and get some contact all the way back on this blade, the full length. Same goes for the wood one. So better than the Mora. The Mora is about a third. Your magnet stops picking up right about there. So a little bit thicker overall than your standard Mora. Hopefully you can see that there. Don't have the exact dimensions, but a little beefier, so it's probably going to take a little bit better abuse, a little bit more abuse. Overall, these things come with a much better fit and finish than your standard Moras. The blade is just shiny and just polished real well. Very nice overall. Hopefully you can see that there. Nice, almost mirror finish on that blade. Very shiny. Shiny's always good. And here's the standard one. Also, just as well done. Overall, stainless steel is going to be what you find. Nothing wrong with that. General purpose here, they come in two styles. You've got the classic wooden grip, which I'd say is probably not ideal for SHTF. A little too slippery. Nothing wrong with it. Got some checkering over there, whatnot. I would go for this, the rubberized, textured. Hopefully you can see that texture on the camera. This fits your hand real well. Wet conditions, slick conditions, whatever, bloody, anything, rainy, doesn't matter. This isn't going anywhere. Get a nice little choil up here, or guard if you will. This is made of plastic, which I've not had a problem with, but it's a cost-cutting measure. And you've got some jimping on the back here, which is a little different than most of your Moras. So if you like jimping, and I don't, you've got some jimping if you want that as an option. So like I said, price point is a little bit more than your Moras. Your Moras are going to run you, let's say, 10 to 15. This was going to run you about 20. So 25–30% more overall, unless you get a higher end model. So not ridiculously expensive, but not fantastic. Let me show you the sheaths on these. I'd rate these as average at best. Just a very basic sheath. Faux leather, this is not real leather. Belt loop on the back side there. No drain hole inside it. Not as good as the Mora. There's a little plastic insert down the bottom for rigidity, which I just can't show you, but it's in there. Again, better blade, cheaper holster. The sheath. I'd prefer this sheath, the plastic, for the Mora. I think it's going to hold up better overall. Nothing wrong with this. This should serve. Now the one that came with the wood handle is a bit more of a dangler sheath here. So otherwise it's exactly the same. Just a different color, just brown. It's got the same little plastic insert on the inside. Again, nothing fancy. So that could be better overall. All for belt carrier. You're not going to be attaching this to your molly webbing or anything like that. Now for general use on this. Both of these. This one's the Skinner model. Let me go ahead and say that if I did not earlier. obviously for skinning and such, but could be used for all the other purposes. I kind of like this, a little bit better belly on it for slashing and whatnot. Standard one here, just like most of your Moras. General bushcraft, you can scale the fish with it, whatnot, cut some rope, just basic stuff. Not going to be batoning anything very large with it, but you can certainly baton with these. There's nothing wrong with that. That works real well. For general use, for bushcraft and in the woods, fantastic little blades, a little bit of a cut above, if you will, of the Mora line, if you're willing to pay the extra price. Not as many options out there as the Mora line for grip styles and everything else, but not bad overall. So for bushcraft and all that, I give it a very good rating for a smaller knife. For around the house, something like that, you know, suburban use, pretty decent. Like I said before, anybody in suburbia probably needs a Mora knife or something along those lines. This would fit the bill if you want something that's just not a Mora, if you want to be a little different. Something that's probably going to hold up a little bit better. Going to do the job, you know, around the house, around your garden, your backyard and whatnot. You're okay, you know, cutting up small twigs, batoning small pieces of wood. These are going to be fine, just not going to be good for bigger tasks. For defense and tactical use, well, any knife is better than nothing. If it's the same market as the Mora, I do kind of like this Skinner personally. Just like the fit and finish of it. I like the way it feels in my hand. That's probably my choice. Again, you got some good belly if you have to slash with it, and you can also thrust if you need to. But honestly, for self-defense, I'd want something bigger than this if I really wanted to impress people. But this would do in a pinch. Nothing wrong with it at all. And again, with these rubberized grips, it's not going to slip around. I like these grips a lot compared to a lot of the other options that are out there. On a lot of these other lower cost blades we're going to be talking about, this one's great. Again, you got something on the front for a guard, and you got the rear as well. So even if you stab into something, your hand's just not going to slip off. You can catch that, pull out if you need to. So this would be pretty quick to whip around and make a little showing tactically and defensively. Like I said, with the Mora line, for urban use, probably not that practical overall. You probably want something a little more defensive in that situation than you would living out in the woods where you can carry a gun around like you can in most southern states and all. So nobody's going to blame me for carrying a shotgun around my property. But if I was in suburbia, well, I might be able to conceal this under a long coat, something like that. So that's okay. Maybe not draw as much attention as a K-bar, anything along those lines. So not a bad blade. Again, compared to the Mora line here, about the same. Just a little bit more expensive. As far as practicality in the SHTF low-cost world, for low cost, the best price in this size and line is still going to be Mr. Mora here. Again, just with all the options and just the history of these, nothing wrong with the J Marttiini line. They're great. Love them both. Got a few more that I use. These are just the two I grabbed. 18 to 20 bucks. Check them out if you've not done so. Again, take one up a notch. Take a step up versus your buddies who have the Mora line. Anyway, MD Prepper out on the J Marttiini line.